Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's Writers Chat. And we're being kind of goofy and seasoning and Christmas joy and fellowship today. This is our annual Writers Chat Christmas party, which we like I said, we're going to enjoy the community and kind of have some fun today. We have some things planned, and then we're going to end today sharing some blessings that we've had throughout the year. So think about that, because you might have some to share. And we invite you, those of you that in the chat, a lot of times we ask you to kind of go off camera, but you're more than welcome to stay on. So if you join us a little bit later, go ahead and stay on if you want to. It'll be part of the fun, part of the party on that way. Welcome to everybody. Welcome if you're watching the replay. Merry Christmas, if we forget to say that. And all that. And before we get started, I'm going to look at my co-hosts, Melissa and Brandy and Johnny and Norma, and ask them if they have anything to add before we dive into the fun.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry
Christmas.
We tried, we in appearing and looking like we know what we're doing, we asked Norma to start, and she's got a game to start off with our fun today. So Norma, I'm going to turn it over to you to have some fun.
All right, this is a Christmas Carol game, and so we'll see who here in our little group is got their thinking cap on. Jeannie's got hers on, so we'll see how that works. All right, here we go.
Do you want us to shout it out or write them down, or what do you want us to do?
You can just shout it out,
Okay.
And I guess the first one is, no prizes, just fun. All right, we ready? Nana was hit by a large deer that had antlers.
Grandma got run over by a reindeer.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
I can
cute.
tell Pam's going to get a lot of these.
My son was 3 years old when that came out. My dad bought the 45 and played it and hit, and they both laughed like little girls, the both of them, because it was so hilarious. And the Christmas when my dad passed away, so it's 5 years, I found that 45. He still had it. And I framed it and I gave it to my son.
Oh, that's precious.
Sweet.
Oh, I love that.
My dad loved that song too, and he would sing it all the time. And my mom hated it, and she was just so mad.
Yeah, I hate it.
We're singing it.
All right.
Oh, memory.
A muted darkness.
Silent Night.
Silent Night.
Yes.
Good, Johnny.
Are you listening to the same thing I am?
Did you
hear what I hear? What I hear?
It's a favorite.
Let's see. Oh, sanctified darkness.
Holy night.
Oh.
A tiny lad who beats on an instrument.
Oh,
Drummer boy.
The little drummer
Drummer
boy. Yeah.
Love that.
And don't you
And-
like the cartoon of that where
Yes.
you see Mary look at it and say, really? You're going to play the drum? I just got him asleep. I
Oh, that's so cute.
Muted darkness.
Silent Night.
Silent Night.
That already.
Mhm. Oh, sapling of joyous event.
Oh, Christmas
Oh,
tree.
Christmas
Oh,
tree.
Christmas tree.
Or Tannenbaum.
Christmas tree. Oh, Christmas tree.
Oh, Tannenbaum,
From-
yeah.
From
Yeah,
Ernest
or
Saves
either-
Christmas.
Either one. 2+1 monarchs.
We three.
Oh, we
Kings.
three kings.
Yeah. Father Christmas is approaching the city.
Santa
Claus
Claus
is
is coming to town.
Oh,
That's a cute
Yeah,
cartoon
good one.
too.
Yep.
That is.
Mhm.
Yep. And I have just one more. Where did it go? A delight for all God's creatures.
joy
Joy to the world.
Oh, yep, of course.
That one went. Zoom.
I'm like, yep, me too. I'm like, what?
Well, I finished writing up and putting together our Christmas Eve service. And so I had been going through the hymnal with all the Christmas carols to see what was going to be appropriate, because we're focusing on the names of Jesus. And I feel like I should have known this, but lots of our old Christmas carols, our hymns, have lots of names of Jesus in them. So
Oh,
they're
that's
kind of like in the front of my head now.
That's a good point. And I always thought it's fascinating. In our hymnal, we followed the liturgical church here, and Joy to the World was never really mentions Christmas when you think about it. And it's actually Advent. It's listed under the Advent hymns, which
Oh, wow.
I think that's
Yeah,
fascinating.
and what I read this year, and I forget where I saw it, was that Joy to the World was never meant to be a Christmas carol,
Okay.
that it's actually looking at the second coming. And I went,
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
that's interesting. I'll have to like look more into that.
Yeah. I think it's fascinating. And then some of the hymn stories, some of the stories behind, some of them we know Silent Night. A lot of people know the Silent Night one and stuff. And we just last night talked at a church meeting, talked about a little town of Bethlehem and how that the guy that wrote that, and I can't think of his name, Phillips Brooks, maybe something like that. Phillips Brooks wrote it as for his kids in his church just to sing at Christmas time, and here this is lasted,
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was neat. I thought they would. Well, thank you, Norma. Thank you. That was fun. Got us off going and humming some tunes there, didn't it? And so, Melissa, I think you're up next. Do you want to talk about what you're sharing with us?
Oh, well, I'm giving a little gift out to everybody for Christmas. It used to be something that was only available to the subscribers of my newsletter, but now it's a freebie for everyone. I have a download link that I've put in the chat so that you can get your own PDF copy of my family's traditional Swiss Christmas cookies, Leckerli, and they are awesome. It's a spice citrus cookie with icing, really tasty.
Ooh,
Family
that sounds
favorite.
yummy.
So I have put the link in, and I can share it a little later at the end of the hour too, if anybody misses that.
That would be good. Tell us about the recipe a little bit. I mean, why is it such a family tradition or passed down or?
It's been passed down to Swiss families for centuries. It's a very old recipe, and so my great grandmother, she had it from her family, and she always made it for Christmas, and it was my grandma's favorite, so she carried it on down and eventually gave the recipe to me. So it's been something that's been in the family, and we've always done it for Christmas, and everyone looks forward to it.
Does anybody else have family traditions or cookies or something like that's been multi-generational like that?
Real multi-generational. Just my mom had a sugar cookie recipe, cutout cookies that she made for like literally everything you can possibly think of. When she died, we went through like 300 cookie cutters.
Wow.
And so they're all in our family known as grandmom's cookies.
Grandma's cookies.
So
that's cool. That's very good. Sophia, did you have something?
I like to make a batch of spiced tea, and sometimes I'll jar it and give it out to people.
Yeah.
My mom called it Russian tea.
Yes,
So
yeah.
that's what I got from my mom. I share that with my subscribers when they just a little gift. It's not fancy or difficult, but it makes you feel like home.
Is that the one like with tang in it and stuff, if I remember right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I haven't had that for a
Oh,
long
wow. I'll post it in here. My Christmas gift to you.
Yeah,
Thank
There
you.
you go. Yay.
thank you. Norma, were you going to add?
I do a homemade hot chocolate recipe. That's really good. We've done it for many decades, and a lot of times it makes a huge container, and I'll put it in little gift tins at Christmas time with the directions either on a little card or taped to the back. So that's a lot of fun.
That is nice.
I was wanting to get to the store because I know the sizes of everything have changed since the last time. It's been a few years since I've made it, since I don't have little kids at home anymore. But so I wanted to go to the store and get the sizes so I could share it today, but I just wasn't able to do that. But I will share it on our Facebook page once I get the actual measurements.
Thank you.
Sizes of everything. But it's good. You can do it with water or with milk. Milk just makes it that much richer.
Yeah. Catherine says her mom has a apple pie recipe.
Ooh,
Oh,
love apple
that
pie.
sounds good. And stuff. Yeah.
If it's not a secret family recipe, Catherine, please do share.
Yeah.
I think she got it from a Betty Crocker cookbook. You don't always taste better when you eat it from a loved one who's making it.
Betty
for you.
Crocker,
I don't have it immediately handy, and I don't have her immediately handy to ask either. So if someone will drop me a reminder, note my personal email or whatever, though, I'll see if I can put it up in the Facebook chat.
We'll do it.
Yeah.
I'll share this with you girls. And Dennis, sorry.
And Ben,
Hello,
Ben's
everybody.
into
And Ben.
This is my snack. This is a cranberry sauce cake. It's made with whole berry cranberry sauce, and it's very
Never too early for dessert, yeah?
It's right. Well, didn't everybody say like it's a party? Bring snacks.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got
I
you
got
know,
the
oh.
cookies.
Oh, I love that.
Moose and bear, and so.
Oh.
But this is a fun recipe, and it's tasty, and it can be festive, and
Can you share
They-
that on the Facebook?
I'll do it on our page. Yeah.
Mhm. Well, in Ohio, we make Buckeyes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
The
Buckeyes.
rolled up, if you're not familiar with it, the rolled up peanut butter balls dipped in chocolate,
Mhm.
they look like Buckeyes. And
Yum.
what's fun is because you can make that multi-generational, put it together.
Mhm.
Usually the kids peter out pretty quick, and you're left with a mess. And it makes way too many, but they freeze wonderfully. So
Mm,
like January, February, you can go get these little chocolate peanut butter out of
that's a
the
great
fridge.
idea.
Yeah, so it's great. It's fun. It's a good neighbor gift to give to
Mhm.
each other on that. So it's good old chocolate and peanut butter. You can't beat that, at least for me. You can't beat that. Anybody else before we?
I make a honey pecan pie.
Ooh.
Oh,
Ooh.
that sounds delicious.
Instead of the Cairo syrup,
Mhm.
it's I use honey, and so
Wow.
Oh, that's
when I teach my
neat.
beekeeping classes, that's what I give to the at the very last class. But usually at Christmas time, then I will make a honey pecan pie.
Oh, how that is a beautiful tradition, especially with your interest in the bees and stuff. That is perfect. That would be fun to find out. Maybe that should be our challenge. What's the recipe for us that we identify with? I mean, the bees is a good example of that. So, well, the Swiss, Bobby, Melissa, your Swiss cookie one and stuff, and maybe Johnny could do something spy oriented. I know you do that. I just
Pie oriented. I'll give that some thought. Him mentioning Cairo syrup though, so you guys know lots of times when you think of thumbprint cookies, they have that Hershey Kiss
Mhm.
thing on them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But my mom used to make these, what we call thumbprint cookies, and you actually chop up chocolate chips and mix them with Cairo syrup and melt that. And then the cookie itself is kind of small and it's a little ball. And we always liked my dad to put his thumb in it because his thumb was big. And then you bake those and then you pour that syrup in it, that chocolate syrup, and let it
Ooh.
set. And those were our thumbprint cookies. And I hardly ever see those with anybody else. But when I moved to Florida and would try to make them, I guess because of the sea level or something, I never could make them. So we're going to try to make them now that we're in Oklahoma and see if that helps. But my mom would send them to me. So she would mail me thumbprint cookies because they were one of my favorites. It's kind of a bitter chocolatey taste to it, but I don't know.
We need that recipe.
Yeah, we've got it. My sister made a family cookbook where she took a lot of recipes that my mom had and aunts and even me. I have a couple recipes in there, and I'm not a cook. And there, it's in there. So we were able to have those printed up. There's a cookbook. This is getting way off, but there is this cookbook company, and you can do that. And then you can send the link. So some of my cousins, bought the cookbook too, and there were little family stories in it, and so it's a great keepsake. And now we've got all those Christmas things are kind of together now too. So okay, I'm done.
Yeah, but doesn't that show the value of this kind of? It could happen any time of year, but especially at Christmas time, across the generations, but across the family, across the memories. And it also, like Melissa shared her thing with her recipe with her readers, so it's also a branding, marketing thing, and recipes are always popular.
I'm sorry, I'm not done. Because I just have a recipe that was actually sitting right here on my thing. Do you guys know what Springerly cookies are?
I've heard of them. I don't
Shortbread cookie, and they're little rectangles, and you have to have that special rolling pin. So you roll them out design, and then you cut them. So as we were going, this was before my mom died, so this was several years ago. We were going through recipes, and my aunt had written out, and she's a much older aunt. She was like the oldest of the kids, and my mom was the youngest, and there were like 11 in between. So big age difference. But she had written the recipe out, and I said, "Oh, I want that recipe." because I want my aunt's handwriting. I want that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I got home from that trip and could not find it. And it was gone. And just last year, I was at my sister's and I said, I'm just still so sick of my stomach that I lost that recipe. She goes, I found that recipe. And she said, I found the card. It wasn't the recipe, it was the card. I lost it. And she gave it to me and it's been sitting right here on my bookshelf. So it's got my aunt's handwriting for
What a treasure.
absolutely because those were one of my favorites as well. I was about the only one that really liked them, but they have anise in them and they're just really good and they get really hard and they're soft inside, so they're actually more of a dunking cookie for coffee, which I hate coffee, but I like the cookies. So anyway,
They be good with tea.
And think about the handwriting.
Yes.
Do you still do that? No, we send them the link.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, that's
I think
precious.
we're going to miss that because that's something we treasure. So maybe take that family recipe this year, put it in your own handwriting.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
would
Yeah,
be-
I saw somebody on YouTube had taken an old family recipe from a cherished loved one and turned it into a wall plaque. It was fantastic
Mm.
because it had the loved one's handwriting right on the wall, and then they could actually follow the recipe. It was great.
That's cool.
Very cool. Hi, Rachel. Very cool. Okay. Anything else on recipes? That was fun. Made us all hungry for lunch. It's almost noon here, on the East Coast. But anyway, okay. The next thing up is a poem. And it's The Night Before Christmas, the writer's version. And yes, I got a little creative, a little crazy last week writing this. So settle back, boys and girls. Here is the poem for you. 'Twas the night before Christmas when all through the house not a creature was stirring and I couldn't even move my mouse. Blank pages before me on my computer did stare and hope that inspiration soon would be there. My creativity stayed hidden like under the covers of the bed, while visions of published award-winning books danced in my head. I sat in my chair, fingers on the keyboard ready to tap, but my imagination stayed asleep for a long winter's nap. When out of the blue, there arose such a clatter, I sprang from my chair to see what was the matter. Turning around so quickly, like a lightning flash, I tripped over my books and papers in my startled dash. Rising slowly from the floor and squinting to see who made all that racket that frightened poor old me. When what to my wondering eyes should appear but the mystical glimmer of a spirit, but no tiny reindeer. Like Dobby the house elf, looking lively and a little bit confused, I knew in a moment it was my elusive creative muse. More rapid than eagles, her magic they came, and she whistled and shouted and called them by name. Now nouns, non-verbs, now prepositional phrases, on adjectives, on adverbs, all letters and catch phrases at the top of her computer and enter through the screen wall. Now right away, right away, right away all. So through my fingertips and keyboard they flew with a boatload of words and one new idea or two. And then in a twinkling, I heard in my office wall the prancing and pawing of the creative call. As I drew in my breath and was turning around, appearing above me, my muse came with a bound. She was dressed in tattered jeans and no shoe on her foot. Her hair was uncombed and her makeup kaput. A bundle of words she had flung on her back, and she looked like a peddler just opening her pack. Her eyes, how they twinkled, her dimples, how merry. Her cheeks were like roses, but her nose was kind of scary. She adjusted her glasses, her little mouth smiled like a bow, but I wondered about those chin hairs that were white as a snow. The stump of her pencil she held tight in her hand, along with a thesaurus and books on marketing your brand. She had a broad face and a quite round belly that shook when she laughed like she had eaten way too much jelly. She was chubby and plump and a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw her, thinking she looks a lot like myself. A wink in her eye and a twist of her head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. She spoke only a few words, saying, "Let's get to work," and filled me with inspirational ideas, but then turned with a jerk and laying her finger aside her nose and giving a nod, back into the office wall she goes. She said, "I will always be with you. You just need to sit and to start." And then she disappeared, my creative counterpart. But I heard her explain, ere she went out of sight, "Put your butt in that chair, your heart in prayer, and write." Merry Christmas.
Oh, that's great.
You should publish that.
That's great.
It was fun. It was fun. It's amazing how what you could do, taking something that somebody's already written. I mean, and then just put the twist.
Play
We've
with it.
talked about that before, haven't we? Being creative, put a little twist to it and a little frame of reference. And the muse does show up when we need to start. You know,
Mhm.
they've proven that with a lot of writers. So that was my gift to you guys. Sit in your
That was
chair.
wonderful. That was really funny. I loved it.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic.
Okay.
Great.
Any other parodies? I think we're going to go to Brandy for some more parodies here.
Yeah, I have a song, and my throat is actually a little scratchy today. I've got stuff in here, so pardon the scratchy voice, but I hope you will enjoy this. Strike the keys with words ablazing, fa la 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 la. Write the draft that is amazing, fa la 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 la. Don we now our editor hat, fa la 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 la. Troll the manuscript for the scat, fa la 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 la. See the work come all together, fa la 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 la. Strike the hold on. Wait a minute. Ah, hold on.
That's all right. We're watching creativity as it happens.
Yes, I mistyped when I had far instead of where. Okay, we're going to start verse 2 a second time. See the work come all together, fa la 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 la. Strike the fear and sub and editor, fa la 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 la. Wait for months and months for reply, fa la 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 la. Write something else so we don't cry, fa la 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 la. At last comes the response we dread, fa la 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 la. Could be a reject or a wed, fa la 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 la. But at last we read the words and fa la 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 la. Unbelievable, it's a yes, fa la 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 la.
Oh, that was wonderful.
I love that. Boy, does that put us in the Christmas spirit, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Has anybody else taken songs like that and done anything with? Anybody else?
And Pam?
Pam?
Yeah, I did for a writers conference one year. I did Heart and Soul. Da, 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 da,
Oh,
So
yeah.
it was a writer's lament, about an editor waiting to hear and wanting to, sign a contract and get a royalty check and all. That was fun.
I took "Oh Christmas Tree" and wrote an Easter song with it. It's
Ooh,
"Oh Calvary's Cross, oh Calvary's Cross, on
Mhm.
you there hung our Savior." So,
beautiful.
and then I did another one. Can't think of what it was, but it was a Christmas one. And when I wrote that one, I showed it to our church secretary, and she showed it to the pastor, and the pastor had us all sing it because it was attuned to Morning is Broken, but it was a
Mm.
Christmas Morning
Mhm.
is Broken type song.
Oh,
So that
that's
was pretty neat.
mhm,
Oh, neat.
that is a great idea. So-
Starlight is shining out of the darkness. Angels have spoken God's holy word.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Nice.
that works. That works.
Yeah.
Good. And Leslie added in the chat that her family and her make up parodies with music playing in the background, but we never write them down. It always makes us laugh. But wouldn't that be cool to collect them? This year's song, the best one for 2022
Mhm.
is,
Yeah.
and write them down. We have a Thanksgiving tradition we started about 10 years ago where I have a little blank book and we pass it around the table and write down what we're thankful for. We do
Oh,
that.
that's nice.
And what was neat this year, like I said, we've been doing it like 8 to 10 years now, is to watch how the grandkids handwriting. They almost always say thankful for family and da da da. But to watch how their handwriting has changed over the years, and so those kind of, I think we need to capture sometimes those family
Oh,
moments
yeah.
a little bit better and stuff. Anybody else on music want to add anything? All right, Johnny, I believe you got some things to share with us.
I do. Taking more of a serious turn, I guess. That was my job. So just talking about just some inspiration, I guess, to get us into, we are sort of, and Christmas seems to be kind of a break. We've done all these things and we're busy and we're still busy getting ready for Christmas, but it's a different kind of busyness and there's that holiday spirit. But we're also, of course, looking forward into 2023 and what we need to do. And we will be talking about goals, of course, as we get into, Writers Chat episodes in January. I think, I'm pretty sure we are. So I just want to give a little bit of advice and hope and so forth. We've talked about this book before. It's Robert Benson's Dancing on the Head of a Pin. I don't know how easy it is to see that with my blurry background. Jeannie and I had the privilege of hearing Mr. Benson, thank you, Melissa, of hearing Mr. Benson speak at the Florida Christian Writers Conference several years ago. And he's a very literary kind of writer, a very thoughtful writer, has his own way of doing things. And this book is just fabulous. So if you haven't read it, I certainly recommend reading it. If you have read it before and it's been a while, you might want to read it again. In fact, I think I'm going to add it to my January list. And so I'm not going to read a lot, but I am going to read a little of what he has to say. And this is one of the most memorable thing he talked about in his talk, and it's included in this book. And if you've been around Writers Chat a while, you've heard this before, but it's a great refresher and a reminder if you haven't. And if you haven't been here, this is new to you, I think you'll appreciate it. So this is Robert Benson talking. On a shelf in the little room where I write, there are 3 hats. The first one is a black beret. If you could see me walking through the neighborhood wearing my beret and carrying my sketchbook with my beard and my sunglasses and my sandals, you would say to yourself, now there goes an artist if ever there was one. And a right stylish artist at that, some might say. I hope someone might say that. The second hat is a sun-faded, well-loved, and well-worn New York Yankees baseball cap. My gamer from the last year the Yankees won the World Series. Gamer is the proper name for the new hat you buy at the beginning of the season. You wear it each time you watch your team play in the new season or each time you listen to the team's game on the radio, and always when there is a chance you are going to bump into a Red Sox fan and you want to make a point. The third hat is a brown fedora. When worn at the correct, rakish Indiana Jones angle, it makes a writer feel like $1,000,000. The fedora suggests that I, the man underneath, am a man to be reckoned with, a man of action and decisiveness and clarity. a man who can make the tough calls and will do so gladly. One of the tricks to making a book is to know which hat you are wearing while you are working on the different tasks required to make your book come to life. And then he goes on to talk about the beret man is that man who's just trying to get the words down. And then there's the editing, that's the gamer. And then the marketing is the fedora, right? So you have to know which hat you're wearing when you're doing which activity. So maybe that will help you to come up with your 3 different hats to separate those tasks instead of trying to do them all at the same time and all at once. I also wanted to read, see, I had all these little things in here and it was really hard to come down to just a couple things I wanted to share. But these are a couple quotes I really like. I always enjoy conversations about writing and writers. To be sure, the first joy of keeping such a conversation going is rooted in the fact that any conversation that keeps a particular writer from the burden of trudging back to the studio and back to writing sentences is a welcome conversation. How much more fun is it to talk about writing than it is to sit in the chair and actually write? For me, I think of writing as 3 activities: imagining the story, writing the story, and revising the story. And of those 3 activities, my least favorite is writing the story. I love the imagining, I love the writing, and I love the revising. That's how it goes for me. So I know, other people have it differently, but that's the way it goes. Any writer worth his ink stains can think of a small army of things to keep him from writing. If he does not have enough imagination to invent the excuses necessary to keep him from writing, he likely does not have enough imagination to write a book. So if you're a procrastinator like I am, just realize that imagination is actually in your favor because it means that you have the imagination to write a book. And let me see, one more. People say they do not understand how we creative people do it. We creative people do not understand it either. We often do not even understand why we attempt it. So those are just some little bits of tidbits of wisdom from a really interesting and, like I said, very artistic, literary kind of author. So that was one. Let me see. As I was looking through my books to try to decide what I was going to share with you today, I found a book that I've had for a while, but I've never opened. I guess I've opened it, but I've never really spent any time in it. And it's like, I really want to do that one this year. It's called The Creative Writer's Notebook. And again, I know it's going to be kind of hard to see, but there it is. And what it does, it starts out like this first thing is about James Joyce. So it talks about James Joyce, who is not one of my favorite writers. I was forced to read Portrait of an Artist as a Young Man 2 or 3 times during my college education years, and I despise it. But the fun thing of this is that there are these exercises. So each chapter in this book, like there's Virginia Woolf, there's William S. Burroughs, who else is there? Nabokov, Hemingway, just kind of these classic people that we've all heard of, and maybe we've read their Maya Angelou, maybe we've read their stuff, maybe we haven't. But then there's some really cool exercises. And so even though these authors may not be your thing, I think the exercises would be really, really fascinating to do. They were really good. So if you're looking for a book to ask someone to give you, you might want to check this one out on Amazon. Yeah, it's just called The Creative Writer's Notebook. Contains writing exercises for inspiration. Okay. I wanted to read you one more thing. And I'm not going to tell you where this is from until after it's done. It's a little bit long, but it's interesting. So I think you'll enjoy it. All during the decade of my 30s, which is the world's 50s, I went through spasms of guilt because I spent so much time writing, because I wasn't like a good New England housewife and mother. When I scrubbed the kitchen floor, the family cheered. I couldn't make decent pie crust. I always managed to get something red in with the white laundry in the washing machine so that everybody wore streaky pink underwear. And with all the hours I spent writing, I was still not pulling my own weight financially. So the rejection that this author received on her 40th birthday seemed an unmistakable command. Stop this foolishness and learn to make cherry pie. I covered the typewriter in a great gesture of renunciation. Then I walked around and around the room, bawling my head off. I was totally, unutterably miserable. Suddenly I stopped because I realized what my subconscious mind was doing while I was sobbing. My subconscious mind was busy working out a novel about failure. I uncovered the typewriter. In my journal, I recorded this moment of decision, for that's what it was. I had to write. I had no choice in the matter. It was not up to me to say I would stop because I could not. It didn't matter how small or inadequate my talent. If I never had another book published and it was very clear to me that this was a real possibility, I still had to go on writing. I'm glad I made this decision in the moment of failure. It's easy to say you're a writer when things are going well. When the decision is made in the abyss, then it is quite clear that it's not one's own decision at all. Any guesses who that might be? Madeleine L'Engle, author of A Wrinkle in Time.
Wow.
Before it was published, but I think she'd already received rejections for it. It's a little bit hard to tell from the timeline. That comes from a book written by her called A Circle of Quiet, which is also just a really interesting little book. How much time do we have? I had one more thing from dances. Yes, one more thing from Dancing on the Head of a Pin. Oh goodness, let me see where I want to start. He says, when the question comes, are you still writing? I hope your answer will always be, of course I am writing. I am a writer. That answer means you and I will always be traveling along together, even if our writerly journeys look different. No, I am honored to be walking along this road with you, even if our paths never cross. Tomorrow the sun will rise, God willing, and it will be time again for us to go to our tables. It will be time to pick up the pen or turn on the machine or take up the colored pencil. Tomorrow we will look our juries in the eye and continue telling them the stories we started out to tell. We will craft sentences that are honest and true. We will finish the day's words and be artful enough to leave ourselves in a good place to do the next day's work as well. There are stories that must be told and must be heard, stories waiting on you and me to do the telling. Tomorrow we will write, and not waste time. We will make dark marks on the page, the gift to which we have been given, the gift that has been given to us. Tomorrow we will go dancing again, dancing on the head of a pen. So that is what I'm leaving you with. Hopefully hope, inspiration. If you're getting rejections, no, you're not the only one. Do not feel like you need to put away the laptop and make cherry pies. and then I'm going to give you a link to a book funnel of a short story I wrote called The Caretaker's Christmas. It appeared in an anthology. It's the only Christmas story I've ever written. And I hope that if you take the time to download it, that you'll enjoy reading that. So Merry Christmas to you all. And I hope that was
Thank you.
You
That
found
was
something there.
inspirational, but also shared resources and focused us as a writer. That was absolutely beautiful on that. And we've had a couple people had some answers and links, and people have been sharing the links to what you've read and the authors' names and stuff like that in the chat. So we appreciate that on that. Wow. Does it inspire you guys a little bit? Books? Yeah. I like the idea too that look what we already have on our shelves. I got a shelf here of writers' books, and it'd be interesting to kind of read the titles again and figure out one in particular to take out and just look at sometime in the next couple weeks, for some inspiration. But that Dancing on the Head of the Pen, he was so poetic, wasn't he?
Yes.
John?
Yes, he was.
Lyrical writer and stuff. Well, we do have one surprise addition before we kind of start with our final thing. Is Sophia had something she wanted to share, so we're going to let Sophia jump in here and see what do you have for us, Sophia? You got us curious.
My first writing assignment outside of school was for my pastor's wife. I had 5 kids, little kids at the time, and she asked me to write something for our Christmas program, and I didn't even know why. And she said, because you love words. And it just blessed my heart. And so this is the first thing I ever wrote as an adult, and I still love it. And so I want to share, I think I'm going to make it a podcast for my very first podcast for this season. So here we go. It's called Peace Like a River. There are people out there whose lives could be described as peaceful. People who have glass ornaments on their trees. I'm not one of them. But God promised to give peace like a river, not peace like a pond. That works for me. Whitewater rapids come to mind. Few things look more peaceful than a pond, smooth and stationary with little or no splashing, not much changes. Surface tension comes to mind. You can know the boundaries of a pond. Natural or man-made reservoirs, they're limited in how much they can take. Too much and they overflow. Too little and the edges recede. A pond may even dry up or go stagnant. Rivers, on the other hand, are not tame things. Originating upland, they meander until they flow into other bodies of water. Coursing, twisting, and turning, going over, under, and around obstacles placed in their paths, liquid powerfully eroding those rock-solid obstacles until they are smooth or sand. Rivers may appear to follow designated paths, but more often than not, rivers make the paths. Peace like a river. Peace that doesn't limit itself to what I can handle, manage, or contain. Peace that doesn't depend on my discipline or willpower or obedience. Peace that is beyond my understanding, because peace is not something I can practice or concoct. It's not a skill that I can improve. Peace comes from a source, an inexhaustible source, the Prince of Peace. I am at peace with God because of Jesus, and I can know the peace of God when my eyes are stuck on him, because I trust in him. So when the ride is wild, I can throw my hands up and surrender to his power and his love. I know I can't handle it, but he can, and I can rest in peace. Merry Christmas.
Wow, I love that.
Beautiful.
Absolutely. And
Yes.
what a gift your pastor's wife gave you. I think probably each one of us has a story as a writer that sometimes someone else saw that in a way, maybe even before we ever saw it and stuff. And it sure proved it with that. What an affirmation for you. That is beautiful. I love that. I love that. Well, you guys have been, it's been fun today. It's been fun. And thank you, Sophia. Thank you for that. In the final minutes, I think each of us were going to share a blessing from 2022. And then maybe just open it up and see if anybody else has a blessing or something that they'd like to share as we wrap it up today. So Norma, I'm going to throw it back to you first.
Okay. Well, where do I begin? That sounds like it's a really old song from a long time ago. As many of you know, this year has been full of craziness for me. But I think my biggest blessing has just been God's faithfulness. Like Sophia said in her piece that she read, God has blessed even when I haven't been obedient or faithful, or I've been too sick to get out of my own way. He's still been so faithful to me, and I'm honored to be a part of 4 compilation books. That 2 of them have already come out, and 2 more will come out next year. And he did that in a time where I wasn't able to do much writing because of being sick.
Wow.
But his timing is always perfect. And I'm just thankful that for whatever crazy reason, he has chosen me to be on this journey. And I'm thankful that he has put me on this road with you guys. You all blessed me more than words could ever say, and encourage me when, as Johnny has heard me say, I just want to throw in the towel and say I'm done. So you all are a blessing more than you can ever know. And I appreciate you, and I wish you a very, very Merry Christmas. And I hope some dreams of yours come true in 2023.
Aw, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That is beautiful. I don't want to rush through this. Savor it. Savor it, right? Savor it on that. Melissa, what do you have? What would you like to share with us?
Well, that's a tough one to come on the heels of. I'm still in the savor mode too.
Yeah, it is.
Oh gosh, there are like Norma. This was a crazy year for me, and there are a lot of things that really kind of made me feel like I went through the ringer this year. But I would echo not only God's faithfulness, but this steadfast direction through even the chaos. Just like what Sophia said about the river. You know, everything was so unpredictable and crazy and fast this year. Yet God brought us through it, and He, He did some great things. Even in my family, He brought about the fruition of my books being published. And there's a lot. I'd say that another thing would be just all of you and all of the people and who helps to make clan. I mean, just the steadfast faithfulness of those who are willing to support and uphold me and help me and my family. And it's been neat to experience that, to see everybody coming up and stepping up and being the encouragers that all are. So I am grateful for all of you and for my family and God's faithfulness and steadfastness to get us through the year.
So that's great. And what a year you've had, Melissa. Really, or last couple months. You've been on a whirlwind, and then in that way and stuff. And I love reading the chat. Catherine shared that it sounds like one of the best jobs that could happen to come along with some benefits that happened this year, and good co-workers to work with, and then grandkids. Got a bunch of grandkids coming along on that way. That is those are blessings. Those are blessings. Brandy, you want to take it? Share a little.
Oh, gee. Yeah. I will share a little bit, and then I will ask a little bit. I think my biggest blessings for me this year is not necessarily writing related so much as it is being regrounded in God. This pandemic took me away from being able to go to regular attendance at church for an extended period. And, that's hard. I was on the worship team before, and, it's hard to be away from your church family. But it was something that was essential that I do for my family's health and safety, especially considering I have a medically complex child. And, I had said to my pastor, I'm sorry, but we have to be the first to leave and the last to come back because of that.
Yeah.
But the first year was really difficult in the pandemic. But this past year, God has grown me in a way that I don't think I could have grown if I had still been going to church every Sunday. And not to say that you shouldn't stay away from church, because it's important, very, very important. But God uses what we go through in our lives, and He used this needing to stay away for a growth period. Because when you don't have any supports around you, like going to church to uphold you in your faith, you go to church and it gives you something that is provided to you. But when you can't do that, you have to develop what I have called a crutchless faith. You have to do it yourself without the supports around you. It's either do it yourself or you don't have a relationship with God. And so this past year, my biggest blessing has been learning how to get myself more connected to God, closer to God, and developing the healthy patterns that I needed to develop that I was too lazy before to do because I had many crutches in place. So that's my biggest blessing. And because of that, I'm able to be, I'm growing into being a more well-rounded, more balanced person for my family, but then also in my writing. So priorities have sorted around into a right place. So that's my hugest blessing. Even this parody that I did for today, I couldn't get to it when I went to bed last night. I'm like, Lord, I couldn't get to it. I was doing what I needed to do. I had to do and tend my family and the other things around me. I'm going to have to come in tomorrow and have nothing. And then as I was getting ready for bed, the Lord dropped in the first line of this parody. And that was enough to keep me going. And I was able to actually get it all down just before I turned into bed. And I'm like, thank you, Lord. You are faithful. When we follow you, we seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, all these things will be added unto you. And he did that. And so it's just so awesome. I was so thrilled. I'm like, thank you, God. You are so good. It's like a little sparkly twinkling on the tree, So that's my blessing. Now, the ask I was going to say was, I wanted to ask all of you, any of you who are fiction writers, would you like to come and join our little private, secret, small group of Writers Chat Fiction? It's not really super secret because, we tell people about it, but we do keep our numbers a little on the small side. So it's at that time of the year where we are going to be getting a new book next month, The Emotional Craft of Fiction. I think I got that right, by Donald Moss. And we have room for more people. Yay, she's even got it. I still have to buy my copy. So if any of you are writing fiction and would like to join us, we meet officially. Our scheduled things are once a month to discuss the book, but then we also meet every other Fridays to what I call chatting, writing support, basically, where we can just write together, get support, chat, and just talk about what we need or just get some work done. So anyway, if you are interested, please contact me on Facebook and we'll talk about more.
Oh, that is good. You guys are inspiring me. Mine's not so inspirational. Oh, that. So Johnny, why don't you go ahead and
Wow. I've just got so much going on around in my head and listening. So I was really blessed last year. I ended up in 12 months writing 5 novels, 2 novellas, and a short story. And I can remember when I first started out writing, thinking I will only write a book a year. I don't know how people do any more than that. But God blessed me with that, which is needed because it is my job. It's my income. So it's such a blessing. And I've got, stories to write throughout the next year too, which is wonderful. I don't have to worry about it. And yet it's like I always have to come up with these, you have to come up with stories, and the publisher I write for wants those ahead of time. And I feel like sometimes my brain is like Pavlov's dog. It's like as soon as the thought goes into my head, I need to come up with the story, my brain goes, nope. And it's like, yeah, I do. Nope. And it is just this, like, it just becomes this hard thing. And then I said, God, I need a story. And God always gives me one. And I don't know exactly how that happens. And I don't know how it happens, because again and again, my brain is just like, there are no more. You have no more. You're done. And it's just not true. I mean, it is so not true. And I pray about it and I take a deep breath and then, it's the fear is there that this will be the time. The fear is there in the writing that it won't get done. And I have had trouble with deadlines this time. I'm meeting them like at the very last second, and I had to get an extension because of things in the family. And yet God is so faithful. It's like Brandy said, it's that late night, and yet there's just that spark. And then it's like, oh, okay. The stories are out there. They are waiting for you. They are there. And I know again and again, I could not do it. If it's not me, it's God. It truly, truly, truly is. And then the other thing, for more of a personal thing, is like, when I was young and in my 20s and young mom and all that kind of stuff, this isn't what I thought my life would end up like. And yet I am so grateful for it. And I'm so happy. And God has blessed brokenness. And it is such a blessing to me that I can be with Bethany when she needs me to be with her. I can be here with Jill when she needs me to be with her. And that God has made that possible. And it's not the typical life, but it's my life and I love it. I'm so thankful for it, for the freedom I have, and that the writing gives me, that I don't have to live in just one place year round. I've got several places I can live, and I do. So it's weird, but it's fun, and I love it. And I'm just grateful. I'm grateful for God's steadfast love. That was very, very much his
I
steadfast.
was saying a lot in the chat about how good God is, even in dark times and difficult times. If we look for the blessings are there and all that. And it is noon. So I'm going to say my 2 quick blessings real quick, and then I think we'll wrap up the recording. But we've got time if you guys want to stay on a little bit and everybody do some sharing and last minute thing. And we aren't back until the first Tuesday in January, correct, Melissa, on that?
And the third.
The 3rd.
We're back February. Listen to me, January 3rd, and blessings on everybody for their Christmas season. On that, I'll share my 2 quick blessings because I can't follow up what everybody shared. Has just been so touching, so touching. This is 2022 marked my 50th wedding anniversary with my husband. Yeah. And not everybody at the marriages are messy. Marriages have ups and downs. Yeah, kids, you got it, didn't you, Johnny? I said, Johnny,
look at their shirts.
Yeah, we had matching shirts and all that. And we have just been absolutely, every time I turn around, blessed. And families are messy at times, but doggone it, stick with those blessings, because there are so many wonderful things out there if you just look for them. The other thing is a writing thing that I've had this year, and I can't remember if I shared this with it, that Katie gave me last year for Christmas, a program called Story Worth, WORTH, Story Worth. And once a week this last year, I've gotten a question by email on Monday to write a story about my life. And at the end of the year, they compile it into a book. It looks like a Shutterfly book with a little bit of story to it, and we can upload pictures. And it's been wonderful, thought-provoking, reflective questions that make you look back on your life. And I've enjoyed the process enough, and that's the writer in us, that we enjoyed the process. This little prompt I've gotten once a week. Some of the questions have been hard, that we had one some of them have been fun. That fun one had been just a couple of weeks ago. How has things changed since you were a child? Duh. You start thinking of that. It was quite a long entry. Some of my entries have been short. What was it like with your siblings? My brothers are older than me, and they're very dysfunctional, so I don't see them. And that was a hard one to write. But yet it expresses and captures part of your life. It is called Story Worth. And we like it so much. I talked to Bill yesterday and I said, I hate to see the year end. He said, can you renew it for a year? And I got online this morning. I'm going to do it one more year. So anyway, it's just an absolutely beautiful thing. So if you're not sure if you're having kids harp at you, what do you want for Christmas? You might look at that and send them a suggestion on that. And because that has been the power of asking questions and responding and staying with the questions. Live the questions. The poet Welke says, live the questions it's just a powerful growth tool. So live the questions on how are you going to celebrate Christmas? How is Christmas going to transform you? Live the questions about what blessings have you received in 2022? And as from all of us, from Writers Chat, we ask you blessings on the next couple weeks. And we look forward to seeing you guys and keep growing together as writers in our writing community in 2023 on that. Bye everybody. We'll pull off the recording, then but stay around if you're welcome to stay around. And please read the chat. If you're here online, take the time, because we always load up the chat. There's been some wonderful sharing and resources in the chat there. See you all in 3 weeks, January 3rd.
January 3rd.
Okay. Bye everybody.